Hello everyone, it's me again, Lucky-kyun, and for today's video, I'm going to teach you on how to create a delicious and tasty food art. I'll be your chef today and let's make some food. Before we start, of course, we need some ingredients. The side ingredients are form and construction and art fundamentals, composition, color choice, or color theory. It is really important to know your colors. Rendition, like how you control the lighting. Patience, of course we always need that because there are a lot of details when it comes to food arts. And the secret ingredients are vibrance and highlights. And reference, of course. We always need reference so that we can create the food correctly. We're not an actual chef, we are an artist. I'm also going to teach you on some little tricks and techniques so that it won't be hard for you to create the art. So let's get started. So this is our sketch. I made it detailed as possible so that we can add our patience later on for the line art. By doing the line art, let's make it clean as possible. The line art doesn't need to be too thick or too thin. Let's gonna use the tetractic color scheme. Let's make it shiny as possible, but don't overdo it. And then lastly, we make it vibrant. So for now, let's go for the patience by doing the line art. I separate the line art into three: the bowl, the noodles, and the toppings. I ask people what food I'm going to make, and they choose ramen, and that's what I'm making right now. Of course, the texture detail will be added later, because it is better if you don't put line art to it. And now you see I separated the layer to three, and later on I'll just add another layer for the soup. So now we're going to add the silhouette of each line art. The first thing you need to do is to select the outside of the drawing by using magic wand, then expand the selection into 1 pixel. After that, invert the selection, create a new layer underneath the line art, and color it with anything you want because we're gonna change that later on. You can hit Alt-Delete to fill up the selection with color. So now you can repeat it to other line art as well. This only works if the line art are closed. But if it is not, you can just do it manually. Now we're done with the silhouette. It is important to separate them because it will be easier for you to color later. Now we're going to add a flat color to each layer by adding new layer on top of it. Clip this layer to the silhouette. You can also hit Ctrl-Alt-G if you want the shortcut for it. Now you can add layer as much as you want, as long as it was clipped to the layer under it. For now, it is fine not to be accurate to the colors because you can just change it later. Later on, I'll just gonna flatten this anyway, so you can just color it into one layer. Now if you want to change the color of the layer, you can go to Hue and Saturation. Go to Edit, Tonal Correction, Hue and Saturation, or you can simply hit Ctrl-U. Now you can adjust the color into something else, adjust the lightness, and adjust the saturation. Make sure to remember this function because we're gonna use this more often today. Now I'm going to color the noodles. It would take a lot of time to color all the noodles, so I'll just gonna skip the video. Now I'm done with the noodles, and then I flatten each the silhouette layers. I added ellipse above all of them. That's for the soup. I separate the noodle into two, the top layer noodle and the bottom layer noodle. We're going to blur the bottom layer noodle. Go to Filter, choose Blur, and then Gaussian Blur. Just blur it a little bit, as if it's under all of the liquid. Now I'm going to teach you something here to make everything faster. Since I added an ellipse for the soup, I wanted to delete all the overlapping colors. What I'm going to do is go to my line art layer, then select inside the bowl, expand it with 2 pixels, just a prediction of the thickness of the line art, then go back to the ellipse layer and delete the overlapping colors. Now I wanted to delete some areas so that we can see the toppings clearly. but I don't want it to completely deleted. So what I'm going to do is add a layer mask, select the image of the layer, the part you want to delete. Make sure you have selected the masking and delete it, or you can just use erase and erase some parts of it. The good thing about this is it's not completely deleted. We're going to have a good use of it later on. Now let's delete some part of the soup to show some parts of the noodles. We're going to use this quick mask selection tool, where you can use your brush or pen to select some areas. Go to select, then turn on the quick mask. It's not Q, I just made a shortcut for it. And then make a selection to the noodles, just like what we did a while ago. Then use your pen or brush to select the areas of the noodles you want to show. By the way, I hide the selection border effect. You can hide it by going to View, then Selection Border. Now after that, if you turn off the quick mask, it will make a selection. Now you are free to delete those areas of the soup. Now let's add the oil effect of the soup by using the quick mask tool again. Draw some circle oil to some part of the soup. Then make a selection. Now copy these areas of the soup and make a duplicate. Make the opacity of these parts higher than the soup. Now open the hue and saturation, then change its color to red-orange and make it saturated. Now duplicate that layer and change the color into lighter yellow. Now blur it with the Gaussian blur. Then make a selection to the red-orange oil and use that selection to delete those parts on the blur part, just to create a little glow. So now we are adding the texture. This time you'll be doing freestyle. You need some reference to it and just do the best thing you can do. Now for the final part, you'll be just doing the same thing you've been doing a while ago. Duplicate all the colored layers, add a layer mask to it, go to hue and saturation again. Since this is for the shadow, you're just gonna make it darker, but this is a food aesthetic, so we're gonna make it vibrant by adding more saturation. Now this is a freedom to add shadows to your illustration, like painting black to the layer mask to show the light part of the object. Now do the same thing around the highlighted area. And the layer should be underneath the shadow. Just the same thing, duplicate, but this time you make it lighter and saturated. Now, but instead using the white layer mask, we have to use the black. We're going to do the opposite. To change it to black, just select the layer mask, make sure you've chosen the transparent, and hit Alt-Delete. Now we're going to use the white layer mask to show the highlighted areas. Do the same thing to the other layers as well. And once you're done with that, add new layer on the top of all the layers. Use any pen you like to add white shine to some areas. Now after the highlights, you can recolor the line art by adding another layer on top of those line arts and clip that layer to the line art, same as before. Color pick to some darkest areas of the colors and make it a little bit darker, and then color it to your line art. You're also free to delete some line art just like what I did to the meat. but just use the layer mask because whenever you mess up, you can always go back to it anytime. And then new layer for finishing touches like a steam. At this point I uses the watercolor brush, but you are welcome to use any, maybe something more better. So I guess this is the finished artwork, and somehow I'm satisfied with it. It looks nice. What do you think? I think the secret of this kind of illustration is it is more vibrant and less darker shadows and lots of shines to it. You can still use dark colors, but as long as you can control its contrast to the other colors, it's fine. You just need to balance it. In fact, there are food that isn't light as this one, just like steak. I actually planning to make two kinds of rendering, a line art and without a line art. Just like this unfinished steak here, and some sketches on the canvas. Now if you can see, the steak works really fine even though it's a dark colored food. The red controls it, and with some little colors on the sides. I separate all the layers because I cannot rely to line art. I didn't continue this tutorial because doing the tutorial of the ramen alone is a lot. So if you want the tutorial for the steak, then comment down below and I might do some part 2 of this tutorial. So thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something in this video. If you want more of this kind of tutorial, just subscribe and don't forget the notification bell. So that's all for today. See you on my next videos.